You're watching The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. If you're in the southern part of the United States, or maybe anywhere in the United States right now, you're trying not to melt like a popsicle. Stay hydrated out there, y'all. It's just the beginning of the summer. It's going to be a wild ride. Enjoy being part of, the surface of the sun. But there's always the joy of sitting inside and reading comic books, which will expand your mind and make you very happy. So to that end, that's what Talkin Shop is about. You're here on The Experience to enjoy learning all about the comic book things and collectibles and other fun stuff. And that's what I'm here for, is to make sure you know about the cool stuff that's coming out so you don't miss anything. Today we get to talk to two awesome people. We get to talk to Ryan Cummins, who's going to be part of Hellbound's big Kickstarter. And then after him, we get to talk to Eric Palicki, who's been on before. You'll probably recognize from lots of great work. But he has a follow-up to his first series, Blacksmith. And I'm super excited because I just read the series again today to make sure I was refreshed. And I forgot how much I love the thing. So stick around. You're going to hear about all that and more. And welcome back. It's time. Let's hang out with Ryan Cummins. Ryan, what part of the United States do you hail from?
Michigan, West Michigan, actually.
Okay, so do you guys have crazy weather like we do here?
I think we have the craziest weather. I think we get all the seasons within the span of 3.5 days. It's crazy up here.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like, I think for 2 weeks here, every day shows as having high chances of rain. But what we get instead is we could be cooked alive when we leave our houses. So
I think this morning I woke up, it was hoodie weather. It's like 60 degrees. Cool. Pants and a hoodie, and then by noon, it's 90 degrees and you're cooked alive. Yeah. So it's pretty crazy.
I think our low overnight was like 86.
Oh, golly. No, I can't do the melting while I'm trying to sleep. That's a no-go.
Well, the jewel about it is, especially in Houston, we're used to really hot temperatures and a lot of humidity. So everyone has really great air conditioning, except for when it gets overwhelmed and doesn't do its job. But by and large, we're prepared for such things. We're inside people here.
Yeah, if we get bad weather, we know 2 or 3 days later it's just going to change anyway. So we're pretty much chameleons at this point.
I see Brainy Singh is on all the way from California, which I'm sure is beautiful as always out there. He's got his own shop, Ahoy Comics. You guys should go and check him out in Northridge if you're around. All right. Okay. So Michigan. Michigan's a great place to live. Is that your birthplace, or did you arrive there later in life?
Nope, it's birthplace. I've only ever been out of Michigan. I lived in Indiana when I was a child for a little bit, and then pretty much just going to Chicago every now and then. So I'm pretty much Michigan born and raised at this point. So I get a lot of flack for not going out and traveling.
So were you always a nerd?
Yes. Always.
Always. So was it something you got from your parents, or did you just gravitate to it?
No. How did I even? So I want to say the first comic I ever got was The Death of Superman, and my uncle brought it up. Well, little backstory. My immediate family, were very poor, like dirt poor. Single wide trailer out in the middle of nowhere. Just half the year we didn't have electricity. The other half we didn't have heat. It was very off the grid. My uncle came over one day and had 2 copies of The Death of Superman. And this was the Spectator boom. This was when everybody thought Death of Superman was putting your kids through college. So he brought over 2 of the black bags, had the armband in it and everything, gave it to my parents and said, here's your money. This is your ticket. And of course, my brother and I opened them up right away and was reading them. And yeah, we got in so much trouble for that. Like, that was like ripping up a lottery ticket, a winning lottery ticket. So, and then that time it was just, I love this. I need to see more of this. You know, Dan Jurgens' art on Death of Superman blew me away. Found out there was a comic shop in a town not too far away. And I only ever wanted to go to town with my parents if I could go to the comic shop, you know. And it just, every time we went, I couldn't even buy the books, right? I had no money to buy books, but I'm on the spinner racks and I'm looking at the spinner racks. We did garage sales a lot. So anytime there was a long box at a garage sale, I'm digging through them every time. It was awesome. It wasn't until, I want to say I was 12 or 13. I went to stay the summer with my grandparents, and there's a little comic shop, card collectible shop downtown. And I had a couple dollars with me, and I bought Spawn issue number 32, which was the first comic book I ever paid for with my own money. And it was just, the art inside of Spawn number 32 when he gets the new costume blew my mind. And it was just like, nope, I'm a nerd. This is what I do now. So every bit of money I got was comics.
Yeah, your origin story is really the reason why I opened my comic shop. And the reason why we have the policy we do in our kids area is that when kids walk in there, I say, you have my permission to read every single book in this space. Every single book.
We were pretty low on funds. So for a long time, I would only have a couple of dollars a month to spend. So I just started buying Wizard magazine. And that was how I would get like a little bit of everything, a little bit of Marvel, Image, DC, and that was just my money. Like, I have to have this magazine. I had boxes full of them when I was a kid. And then once I was older and I could, you know, I had my job, you know, once we started moving up the ladder a little bit financially, then I could start collecting seriously. It never stopped. Like that was just, comics. I spent so much money on comics.
Sounds like a healthy relationship with comics.
But the problem for me is I was also an artist at the time, so I was studying everything too. So I would get like copies of Wildcats or copies of Jim Lee's X-Men, and I would open it and just sit there and just draw panel for panel everything that they were doing in the book. It got to the point where I would watch the cartoons, and I would put my desk. I got this crappy little desk my mom got at a garage sale. And I put the desk in front of the TV when they weren't home. And I would just pause the cartoons. We had old VHSs we would get from garage sales. And I would pause them and I would draw whatever was on the panel or was on the TV as a panel. And then I would, you know, let it go to the next one, pause it, and draw that too. It was just, I was obsessed. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I've kind of read a lot about the early comic book creators like Kirby, and I don't think those guys had two nickels rubbed together either. They just drew.
Yep. You had to do it for the love of it, you know. I mean, I don't know. That's how I do it anyway.
So did you go to school for any kind of art degree?
So I got, in about 6th grade, I drew a picture of Spider-Man and Captain America, and I did it in the English class of all classes. And my English teacher took it to the high school art teacher. She's like, hey, this kid's got something. What can we do for him? So the art teacher took it. She's like, your anatomy's great. She's like, your profiling is great. She's like, if this is something you want to do, like, I can really help you out. So I remember there's a Kendall Art College in Grand Rapids, Michigan. She brought in somebody to look at my work, and they really liked it. And they're like, hey, if you can get through art, through the art classes in high school, she's like, you'll have a spot at Kendall. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like, keep my grades up, keep going. Problem was, once I got into high school, it became, you know, it was all music and chasing girls. Girls got involved, and then it was just all out the window. But my biggest issue was I thought I knew more than the art teacher. So I completely skipped all the fundamentals in art class. So while everybody's drawing and painting the bowls of fruit, and they're doing their little shapes. I'm over there drawing like the Incredible Hulk versus Thor. I'm drawing Spawn versus Superman, and I failed every single class, every single art class I had, because I didn't want to do that stuff. Like, look how good I can do this. Why do I have to do this stuff? And we fought for years on that. And so it kind of blew my opportunity there. But, and of course, as I got older and matured, that I realized I had a great opportunity there. I just threw it away, you know. Not saying that you need art school to be a comic artist, but like it would have been a cool thing to do.
Yeah, it's like everyone's path is different, and sometimes you just need those years to mature a little bit.
Yep.
So did you get a degree in something crazy?
I got my degree in real life.
In real life, yes.
Yes. Yep. No, I actually, the end of my junior year, I didn't finish high school. It was kind of, hey, I'm out on my own doing my thing. It took me quite a while of running around being crazy and just being a psychopath before I settled down and realized, hey, I got to get my stuff together. But yeah, I never made it to school. I would have been the first person on that side of my family to go to college. And now that I think back about it, I was like, man, that could have been something, but nope, I was just out there living life like a psychopath.
You know what's crazy is that right now I think they're saying that going to college is fine, but it's only really necessary for very particular degrees. But
Yep.
Most people just want experience, and
Yeah.
so probably your route is better.
Yeah, right. Save
No
us a lot
doubt.
of money. Yeah. Well, yeah, it would have just been cool, and that was the era. Like my parents were like, if you want to be anything, you have to go to college. Like, if you don't want to be living like this, you need to go to school. So, and of course, anything my parents said, I was against. So,
Like most of us, our parents couldn't possibly know anything.
oh yeah.
Just realized my microphone's on the other side of the room. That's pretty funny. Let's talk about your cool book that you've got on crowdfunding right now, Hellbound. Is this your first creation of your own?
No, this is what is this? This might be my 9th Kickstarter, actually.
Ooh, yeah.
4th or 5th different IP that I've made. So
That's amazing.
yeah. It's kind of when I sat down to make this book, it was kind of a love letter to that feeling I had when I was in high school, when I discovered Todd McFarlane and Spawn and those Image books, those Extreme Studios books. Just smash mouth, loud, over the top, punk rock comic books. You know, it's got a good story. I like it. It's nothing too complicated. It's nothing that's gonna hammer down with the like themes as like some of my other books do. It's not a dark introspective journey. This is a big summer blockbuster movie book, basically. But
Tell the basic story.
Basic story. Okay, so the story is a young outsider named Ash Navarro who lives in Detroit. He is on the run from the law, and he gets caught up in this I don't know what you would like, this cult trying to bring back this eldritch demon and to take over the world like they do. And he gets caught in the middle of it, and he fuses with that demon. It becomes this giant behemoth of a creature. And he just wants to figure out where he fits in, you know, what he is now. And the forces of heaven and hell are both after him. They both want a piece of him. And it's just absolute destruction from there on out.
I saw part of your tiers has like a double page spread or a single big beautiful one panel as part of the offerings that you could just get the original art pencils for, and that art is gorgeous.
We are doing, I believe, most of the pages from the book, because the book is almost done. We have some coloring to do and then lettering, but the pencils, I think we have to add it in tonight. We're offering all of the pages, the original pencils for as add-on tiers. So anybody who wants the original artwork can get some of that.
And I think is it the double page spread that's the 500, which seems like that's giving away art right there, y'all.
Oh yeah, especially you look at that page, it's insane. It's got all the original blue lines, the original lines. Yeah. And I have, so William, the artist on the series, and I have worked together before, and I just have a folder full of his original pencils, and they're gorgeous in real life. Like the computer scans do them no justice.
Mm-hmm. So is this slated to be a multi-issue series, or is it a one-shot?
No, it'll be a 3-issue miniseries. Scripts for the whole thing are done. The first issue's, I would say, 80% done, 75% done. And each issue gets bigger. I believe this one's 22 or 24 pages. The next one's 28, and then the following one is 32, I believe. The more we were playing with the story and the more art was coming back, I was like, I need more big panels, more splash pages. I'm like, this art is too good, you know? And for it to be a big blockbuster comic movie type story, we needed as much of that as we could cram in there. So, and of course the art team loves doing those.
Do they love that, or they?
Oh yeah, I know. I told the artist, I'm like, look, man, I know you got, because artists hate doing 6, 7, 8 panels on a page. They got to figure this out. And I'm like, look, man, your art is too good. Like, I'm not stupid. Your art's going to carry this story. Boom, 3 panels on this page, 2 panels on this page. Let's just go. Just draw the hell out of this thing. So they're like, yeah, let's do it. So.
I follow a lot of artists on social media, and it's so hilarious when you find a writer artist. Yeah. And they'll make posts like, my writer jerk, laid out X panels for me, and I hate their guts. It's me.
Yeah. Well, I have another book, my book, Raina, the Bastard Queen. I usually write 5 or 6 panels per page, and I got one page back that had like 11 or 12 panels on it. Oh, and wow. I'm getting crap from a fellow writer for that. Like, I can't believe you did that to your artist. I'm like, that was Stan. That was him. He did all. Like, I had one panel that said she's screaming, and he made it like 7 panels. It was amazing. I was like, let that dude do what he wants to do.
It is funny that I've been at a panel before where it's been Snyder and Capullo.
Yep.
And Snyder got up and went and did something, and Capullo was like, don't let that guy fool you. I just tell him to shut up and let me do what I do.
Yep. I love that. I love that he not only he says it behind his back, but he says it to his face in interviews too. I used to hate your guts. He's like, it took a long time for me to like you. But
they're a good team, right? They just don't have to talk anymore. Is essentially what it boils down to me.
They're amazing. I'm like that with Stan. I'm like that with William on Hellbound. You build up a trust, right? So when I first started in comics, it was, hey, I need layouts. I need to see how you're progressing. I need to be able to say, hey, you did this wrong, or hey, you did this right. Let's go this direction. But you build up a trust with an artist. Like, I don't need layouts. It's like, hey, I trust you to do what needs to be done for the story. And these guys knock it out of the park every time. Like, I couldn't be more proud.
Do you do like the typical script, or you do, since you're also an artist, do you do like a script plus like little derpy thumbnails, give them an idea, or you just let them go at it?
Now it's pretty much, hey, just do what you got to do. The worst thing you could do as a writer is hinder your artist. So I don't want to give you a block of prose that you have to decipher. I don't want you to spend all night trying to figure out how these panels should lay out. I write full script with loose dialogue, and I'm like, go ahead and how do you feel that you should interpret this? Or how do you feel this should flow out? And a lot of times they're like, I got it. Scribble it down. I'm like, all right, we're good to go. Let's do it.
Sounds like good teamwork.
Yeah. And a good team is very hard to find.
Mm-hmm. So this is going to be a 3-part series.
Yep.
Do you have anything else in the works right now that's not related? My other series, Raina, the first story arc, The Bastard Queen,
wraps up this year. We actually have issue 3. It's being drawn right now. All the covers are done. That's ready to launch a little bit later in the year. That's probably my biggest series I have. Just as far as reception, everybody loves this book. It's a darker book. It's a more personal book for me. It's probably one I'll be spending a lot more time in the coming years. But right about now, that's pretty much everything. All my energy is going into that book. And then Hellbound, pumping out Hellbound as fast as we can and getting that out there, because we're having so much. This is probably the most fun I've had on a book. It is with Hellbound. The art team is so enthusiastic, and it's like, what are we doing next? Let's go. So
that's awesome. Do you go to and set up at conventions? Are you traveling around any soon?
I haven't done any since the pandemic. I seriously need to get out there. That's number one on my list. This year, most of the conventions that I would like to get into are booked already. And then my fiance and I are getting married this summer. We just bought a house. We have a lot going on. So this year we're probably going to lay low, and then next year just hit the convention circuit like crazy.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to get out there and, get to actually meet your fans and get to like what we call a hand sell, where you get to like tell them the story in person and show them your passion for things. It makes a big difference. It's hard to give that same thing through, like a Kickstarter page. It's tough.
Yeah. And it's really cool when you meet somebody at a convention and they're like, hey, I got this book on Kickstarter. Because then it's like a crossover that doesn't happen very much.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much fun though. My first one I did, I had so many people come up to me. It's like, I saw this on Facebook. It was on Kickstarter. I got that book. And then they're trying to get variants there, or they're getting prints, at the show. And I'm like, this is so cool.
That's gotta feel great.
It does. Awesome. And what's cool is when we were doing conventions, my daughter was with me, and she's like, "This is so cool, Dad. They know who you are." And I'm like, "Yeah, right. This is crazy."
She look at you like you're a hero. That gotta feel good.
Yeah. Then, she's a teenager now, so she's like, Dad, go away.
Oh, they get past that phase too eventually.
When they turn 30, right? 30?
No, actually, my 23-year-old and 20-year-old have somehow become wonderful adults already.
Nice. It took me like 35 years to reach wonderful adult status. That's awesome.
All right. Well, we got about 1 more minute. You want to share your social media? Where's the best place for people to follow you?
I'm at Skeletal Press on all social medias.
Well, that's easy. How'd you pull that off? Yeah, gum.
Because it doesn't mean anything and nobody else thought about it. So I got really lucky on that one.
But skeletal sounds so cool. I would figure that'd be all taken.
All of those were available. My real name was taken. It's crazy. I was like, what's going on? Like there's a soccer player in Arizona. There's an architect in Tennessee somewhere. So I don't know. It's Skeletal Press is where we're at. So.
Perfect. All right, everybody that's watching, make sure you click the Kickstarter, or maybe cut and paste it and save it for after the interviews are over. Support these guys that have passion for making great projects, and the art is really killer. So you guys should at least go over and look at the page so you can see what it looks like. Even if you just want to support it at the digital phase, every penny helps keep these things going and gets the next projects going. So thanks, everybody. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Thanks.
You're the coolest. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
You know how when you go to Comic-Con, after Comic-Con, you go to the hotel bar, and there's a whole bunch of people playing music and dancing, and you've got Pikachu and Lara Croft Tomb Raider doing the cha-cha slide just down from Deadpool and Batman and Wonder Woman? That's every Saturday night over on the Experience Twitch channel. Join Taji Beats for the EXP Dance Party, exclusively on Twitch, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Why was Princess Zelda sad after watching a bunch of YouTube videos? She couldn't find a link in the description. We'll stop if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's super easy. Click subscribe and click the bell when you do. And thanks for supporting the EXP.
Spend just half a second to give us a thumbs up or a heart or ring the bell. Subscribe if you're watching us from the YouTubes. It helps us out a lot, and it lets everybody that works here on the channel really hard to make sure we have good programming for you guys. It lets us know we're on the right track and that you like what we're doing, and it doesn't cost you anything. See? Thank you guys so much. That was a really awesome interview with Ryan Cummins. I had never seen his work before, and that's why I love doing this, because even I, as a comic book store owner, still need help finding all the cool stuff. So that's what we're helping you guys with. Our next guest is so cool. I think saw him in person at New York Comic Con maybe 2 years ago. Maybe it was last year. Hard to remember. It's been, the pandemic's messed everything up. But really awesome guy, knows what he's doing. Let's talk to Eric Palicki. What's up?
Hey, Jen, how are you?
I'm doing good. Was it last year at New York Comic Con I hung out with you?
Last year, 2 years ago. I mean, you know, time is a flat circle. Everything just bleeds together, right? Eventually.
So true.
So I have to say, I appreciate everything that you do. I love how awesome it is for you to always be out here supporting comics writ large, but especially these indie creators. That said, you need to fill out your Kickstarter reward surveys.
Oh, yeah.
You have I owe you a book, and you haven't filled out your survey yet.
For which survey?
For orphans. For the last time I was on your show, we were talking about the Orphans Kickstarter, and you backed my book, which I appreciate, but I can't send it to you.
That is hilarious. Is it Kickstarter or Zooper?
No, it's just regular Kickstarter. No backer kit or anything silly.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Well, that's dumb. I'm a dummy. But yeah, that's a good public service announcement. If you wonder, you know, why you haven't got that thing, it's probably because you haven't filled out the stuff.
Yes, but I did mean everything I said as a preamble to that. I really do appreciate all the support that you throw us indie creators.
Well, I'm living the dream every day because I love all of this stuff, and I pinch myself a lot that I get to talk to all you guys all the time. And you guys are just putting out better and better and better content. So we live in a really sweet spot in comic books. I'm telling you right now, it's amazing. So let everybody get to know you a little bit. What is your background in comic books? How did you enter into the comic book world?
So I have been a comic book fan since I was 12 years old. So 30 plus years at this point. And about a decade and a half ago, I decided that maybe that was something that I would like to pursue professionally. I can't draw to save my life. So I did what a lot of non-artists in the field do. And I tried to become a writer. I started, indie has always been where I have excelled, relatively early adopter with Kickstarter, doing the first Orphans book back in 2012 on Kickstarter, and then a couple other graphic novels to follow. Then I found some success with indie publishers that were able to put my books in stores through Diamond. Scout published Atlantis Wasn't Built for Tourists, which is, my first collaboration with Wendell Cavalcanti, who then went on to draw Blacksmith, which is the book, I hope we'll get to talk about today. In that time, I've done work with Black Mask Studios, Darby Pop. I did a little bit of work for Marvel and Dark Horse, and I've kind of just been all over.
Was that kind of a goal of yours to be able to work for a bunch of different publishing houses, or did you just have in mind to just create your own work?
Well, I approached it with a certain level of realism, knowing that very few people get to do this 100% full time without some sort of day job or other work to back up. Which definitely, once once you've kind of freed yourself of the need to always be hustling for gigs, it allows you to be a little bit more discerning in the kind of projects that you want to do. Every book I do is my dream book because I don't have to, I'm not doing this just to put food on the table, which I know that I'm very privileged in that way, to have a day job and a support network that allows me to just make the comics I want to write when I want to write them. That said, if I'm never not going to take, publishers out there who might be listening, I'm not going to not take your call. So
it's a crazy time in comic books, working in comic books. I see a great many people that want to work in comics that just can't find a toehold. Do you credit any particular smart move that you made to having doors be opened, or is it just be in the right place, right time?
I mean, I know that I'm not as lucky as some, if I'm, speaking objectively about luck and right place, right time moments. But I think that, it's what's the kind of cliche, the harder I work, the luckier I become. Oh. So it's, the more opportunities you give yourself to break through, the more that you're always writing to advance your craft, the better the outcome. If I had given up on this 10 years ago after my first or second Kickstarter, I would still have a book and I'd still be able to say I was a comics creator. But after finding small success, I built on that, year on year, project on project, and that's what's gotten us to this point, I think.
Do you think it's important to always have something in the works? Does that show that you're continuing to move on, whether someone picks you up or if it's you doing your own things? Do you think that shows people work ethic?
I think it does. I mean, the thing about long form comics is that it is possible to disappear for a year, and that doesn't mean you're not working. It doesn't mean you're not producing. It just means that you have your nose to the grindstone. I can write very quickly. I understand that I am just one piece in a larger machine. Artists cannot draw as quickly as I can write. Plus you have the rest of the production cycle. You have editing and lettering and coloring. So it is possible to go away for a while, or to seemingly go away for a while, but to be producing a large body of work. That said, I always try to be doing smaller work for hire gigs. I recently wrapped up Ninja Kaidan with Black Box, which was a fun work for hire gig that I got to do. But it was, a large part of it is about keeping myself and my name and the work out there while I was finishing up, Blacksmith Volume 2.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's
a very good question.
I want to talk about Volume 1. Okay. So there are great many things that I love about that series. One of which you've mentioned, the amazing art. Like if I were to pick an artist to draw something that I wanted to look like, not real, I won't say realistic, but like plausible. It's like, he's so good. Just gorgeous.
He has this almost anachronistic style. His style feels like really cut from that sort of, Neil Adams, Alan Davis, early to mid 70s, like realism, Jim Aparo, those kind of artists. It definitely feels like he's part of that school more so than the more ultra dynamic style that's very popular these days. So
did you pick black and white because you liked the black and white era of comics, or is that just the story lent itself to the black and white style?
So that was actually Ahoy's call. I actually wrote the book and pitched it intending it for it to be in color, but they thought, given that we're doing, a noir mystery, it would definitely more so I think the black and white film tradition than the black and white comics tradition. They thought it would work in that style. When they told me that, I will admit now, after the book has found success, that I was a little disappointed. Not because I didn't think the story or the book would work in black and white, because it did feel like that maybe they weren't confident in the book, so they just wanted to get it out and rush it out the door and not worry about paying a colorist, waiting for a colorist. And then Sarah Litt, my very talented and capable editor, sat me down and said, no, it's quite the opposite. We are confident enough in the story that you're telling that we think that, in spite of the belief that black and white comics don't sell, we think this is a strong enough story, it's a strong enough concept that this will work. And then she further reminded me that, hey, the most successful indie comic of the last 50 years was a black and white non-superhero book with horror elements, The Walking Dead. So you're in good company. After that, totally on board with the black and white. The second volume, written for black and white, with more of an acknowledgement that it wouldn't be in color. And so we were able to actually use that to our advantage the second time around.
The other thing that I really love about the way you did the story is that repetitive opening 2 or 3 lines. Like every chapter begins with the exact same. Well, this day didn't start out the way that I thought it was going to.
Right. Some days don't go how you expect.
That's right.
Yeah, I thought that's just a good way to throw people right into the story. And I'm not the first creator to use that technique, but I think it really works well. We're always opening each chapter as well with a splash page from a point of view above, looking down, which is an homage to how Frank Miller handled the Daredevil Fall from Grace. So
did not remember that. Now I just go back and look at it.
Yeah, those were illustrated, I should say, by David Mazzucchelli. I shouldn't give Frank Miller all the credit for those, but
what's interesting also is that you somehow managed to tell a story that has a bunch of fantastical parts in it, right? You've got vampires and werewolves and djinn and giant fish that should be at the bottom of the sea but aren't, and all of this stuff and guys saying that they have made bullets out of Judas's 30 pieces of silver. And all these things don't necessarily live in the same universe of storytelling, but somehow in the storytelling that you have, they all make complete sense. Did you just take a bunch of myths and just throw them into a hat?
No, I mean, this is really sort of the culmination of a lifetime of fascination with horror tropes and fantasy tropes and folklore. And I sort of thought, what does a world look like in which all of these things coexist? And we built from there. And I think it really works well, even though it is kind of a kitchen sink approach to horror and fantasy.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think the old man might be my new favorite character.
Oh, that's, and I wanted to, for all of the old and ancient and, hundreds of years old tropes that we wanted, I wanted to throw in something that's relatively new, something that kind of felt like a Lovecraftian throwback.
So that first series, and I hope everybody that's watching, if you have not read it, please go and hunt down the individual books or the graphic novel. You will not be sad that you've spent the monies on this at all. But the thing that is interesting is that you definitely ended the series with the feeling that you've got kind of a team or a potential team together that could be around for another adventure of detectioning or whatever.
Right.
So on purpose.
You know, and I've said this in a few other interviews now, I tend to write very open-ended stories when I do miniseries, and I know that the peculiarities of this industry and the medium are such that it's a rare privilege to get to tell more than a handful of issues worth of story. So because these characters were so close to me and the story was very important to me, I actually wrote the first volume of Blacksmith with a lot more closure than I normally would, because I wanted to give these stories a beat that we could end on if we never got to see them again. Like, I wasn't longing to come back to these characters. So it's I guess there's a hint of irony that this is the first of my books where I've been invited to do more stories. It's the one where it didn't feel like it was necessary. But once I got started, you know, everything clicked back into place. It was like coming home again. I was really excited to continue this story. I found new things that we could say about these characters, new ways we can explore who they are and their relationships with each other, which is really important to me. And so I was excited to get to do that. And now that I have done this twice, I'm really, really hoping, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, ahoy, if you're listening, that we get a third volume. This really does kind of feel like a middle chapter in a larger story. So I'm hoping that, you know, I can at least get one more volume. I can at least trick them into giving me one more volume.
So in issue 3 or 4, we have a heartbreaking kind of like flash back to the main character's kind of backstory, touches on her father. It's a heartbreaking thing to see. Do you in this next volume or ever intend to flesh that out a little bit more, like who he was to her? And
there is a little bit of that, not as much maybe as I would like. I feel like a lot of the first volume is about Strummer kind of coming to terms with who she is and being able to move forward. So while there are some oblique references to that particular instance in her childhood in the second volume, it is really about a character who has found her place in the world, trying to do the same for other people and sort of shepherd them along, help them find that same path to sort of catharsis. And it's possible, being that this is a noir mystery tale, that there's not going to be a happy ending for all these characters, unfortunately, or fortunately. You kind of go into noir knowing that, you know, people don't always live happily ever after. And it's possible that Strummer is just not as prepared to take on that task as she thinks she is.
So you've named the second volume is Blacksmiths again. So by that name, I must guess that they go back and work for Mr. Black?
Yes. So Rainsford Black is, I don't think we can call him the villain of the first volume, but he's definitely the antagonist. He is a client with whom Strummer and Ben, our two heroes, have a very contentious relationship throughout the case. And his story, I think, felt incomplete after doing the first volume. So coming back to him and fleshing out what makes him tick is a large part of this second volume, even though it does also, you know, feature Strummer very prominently. And I think that he surprises me. It's hard to say that you could reasonably say that the first volume is a book with no villains. And I think the second volume could reasonably be called a book with no heroes by the time you get to the end of it. So,
ooh. So in the cover that I saw, it appears to have a unicorn on the cover. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah. So, I mean, our first volume, we have the ones you mentioned. We've got werewolves and djinn and vampires and the Minotaur and, you know, ancient Greek gods, Fenris the wolf. you know, I sort of threw the kitchen sink in the first volume, so I had to one up myself. So yes, the first issue of volume 2 features a unicorn, and that's not the only mythical or folklore based creature that you're going to see introduced for the first time this time around.
I could not wait to see what crazy things you pull out of the hat. I think the first time I had ever seen people portray unicorns the way they are in like literature was it Shazam 2 when they finally showed evil unicorns?
Yes.
It's like, yeah, they got a horn for a reason. They hurt you.
Well,
So
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Is this middle series of what you're hoping is the 3 series arc? Is it the same length?
Yes, it's 5 issues. It'll be monthly. Obviously, as we're on the air, it's 2 days away. It'll be in stores on Wednesday.
Ahoy's been putting out some really amazing titles, and I feel like they kind of like go out on a limb for things that on their face might not seem like things that people might want glom onto, but they've done some really amazing choice for what they're carrying. It's very smart for them to keep letting you do whatever you want to do with Blacksmith, for sure.
Yes, I mean, it is. I have the dubious distinction. Ahoy, a good friend of mine describes Ahoy as funny Vertigo. They tell, you know, these very mature stories, but everything has a sense of humor. And I know that Blacksmith kind of has the dubious distinction of being the least funny of the Ahoy books. That doesn't say anything about how it's been received by critics and readers. But I do want to make sure it has a sense of humor, even if it's not a comedy. And, you know, to that end, I was able to make a how do you know if a unicorn's male or female joke, and, you know, build some other jokes into this first issue and the first arc. And I'm really pleased and proud of how it's coming together. And I hope the readers find, you know, will agree with me.
I'm sure I'm going to have to fight my review team tomorrow to get a copy. It's a problem we always have. People are like, no, I was going to read that. Okay. We'll see. Do you have any show appearances where people could come and see you and pick up some cool stuff from you?
Because of just how life works out this year, I won't be able to do any shows up until New York Comic Con, but I should be at New York Comic Con once again this year. I make myself very available online, though, if people want to talk, and I'm in the process of retooling my web store, and we'll be able to offer some autographed copies of Blacksmith, although I do obviously recommend everyone visits their local comic store rather than buying things online. It's just a very important aspect of comics reading is the community aspect. I owe all of my best friends in the world to a lifetime of going to comic stores on Wednesdays. So I hope that even though there's a move towards digital and Amazon and all of these, you know, mega chains offering books online, that people are still finding their ways into comics and gaming stores for the personal experience.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm always very happy when customers come back after I've recommended something. If I put something in their hand and said, please go, you know, buy this and read it and bring it back if it's not your jam, but I do come back and talk to me about it regardless. It's so rewarding to have someone come back and say, this book that I would have never purchased unless you put it in my hand is so amazing. And let's talk about it, because I like to get into the weeds, as I say, about, you know, the conspiracy behind things, or where do you think they're going, or does this symbolize anything?
Well, for actually with the first issues of both volumes of Blacksmith, one thing that I did is I made both the first issues, not quite, but as much as I could, I made them sort of done in one issues. So you get a complete little detective adventure with each first issue. So if someone picks up The Key to His Heart, Blacksmith, The Key to His Heart #1, and they don't care for it enough to continue, which I hope they do, of course, at least I've given them a complete and cohesive unit of entertainment. You can read this book and, you know, it'll give you, I hope, that level of value for your comic book dollar. One thing that, and I'm sure you see this too, Jen, is that a lot of miniseries, because they're designed for this long-term trade sales, they don't necessarily pay enough attention to the comic book, the 20-page periodical, as a cohesive unit of entertainment. And I just don't think that's fair to people that are coming in month on month.
I like your look at it, where you want to give everybody like a finished story, even if they just have the first one. Because I'm so used to the ploy is to give everybody for the first issue just enough that it makes them want to buy the second one. But I see that backfire a lot. There was definitely a book I read last week that there was so little to give me an idea of where they were really headed, that I was like, well, now I do have to buy the second issue. It's totally going to work. I'm going to buy it because I do want to find out what's going on. But also, I probably shouldn't go away from the first issue saying I have really no idea what's going on.
Right.
Got to have your people fall in love early, right?
Exactly. Exactly. But there's a certain level of, like, you just have to have a certain level of closure, even if it's not the full story. It would be like asking people to watch an hour-long TV drama and then telling them that they have to wait a month after the first commercial break.
That would be terrible.
Right?
Oh my gosh, it gives me like X-Files nightmares. That was the way the world used to be, when it was just like, this is the end of the season and you don't get to see anything else for a whole year.
Right. Exactly.
The thing I thought that was very witty also that you did is that you did kind of do the perfect tease at the end of every part of the 5-part series. It's just like your little blurb at the very end. I think it was the second one where like vampires are a-holes or whatever.
Yes.
It's like, you'd be a good comedian. You do great callbacks to like, that was just said.
Yes. And they are a-holes. We can all agree. So
yeah. They're less a-hole-ish than we thought they might be. But they don't sparkle.
They do not sparkle. My vampires do not sparkle.
Not at all. All right. Got about a minute left. Do you have any projects you wanted to announce that are past this one, or share your social media with everybody?
Yeah, please, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Eric Palicki. I have a website at ericpalicki.com. It is sort of ramshackle right now because I'm in the process of moving to a new web host, but we'll get that up and running soon enough. And I also have in July Tox, Toxx, coming from Blood Moon Comics. So that was a co-creation with a games designer by the name of Evan Carruthers. Very excited about that book. It was originally a Kickstarter book, but Evans decided to take it to publishing, so it'll be available in finer comic stores in July. I think issue 1 drops the same day as Blacksmith, The Key to His Heart, Volume 2. I hope everyone checks out Blacksmith, The Key to His Heart. It is designed for new readers, old readers. I hope you love it and either continue reading and or check out our first volume, which is available on trade.
Yep. And this is one of those rare Miss Jen moments where I will tell all my readers, if you go and buy a copy of that trade at your LCS and it's not your jam, I will buy it from you. I believe that you will love it. So go out and grab it up.
Thanks so much, Jen.
I know good stuff when I read it. All right, everybody. Remember to go and fill out your Kickstarter stuff, especially the ones that you've already finished. And we'll see you guys next week right here at this time. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Jen.
Bye, y'all.
Join the party. Head over to our Linktree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.